Welcome to the Afghanistan Project Podcast. I'm Beth Bailey here with my co-host Michael Cook. Today we have three incredible guests joining us. We have Anna Segur, who's an employee of the University of Colorado. Her background is in international affairs, and she's been working to support refugees, and in particular Iraqi and Afghan special immigrant visa applicants since 2016. Val Simich is a U.S. Navy veteran who began supporting refugees during the Syrian refugee crisis in 2015. Val and Anna met and began working together in 2016 while they were assisting refugees in Greece together. And then they shifted their efforts after the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in August of 2021 to support Afghans who had worked alongside U.S. forces there and who were pursuing all available avenues to find safety. We're also thrilled to have Aziza Akbari with us. She's one of just 760 of more than 50,000 Afghan applicants for humanitarian parole to actually become a parolee. Aziza has her MBA as well as a degree in chemical engineering, and she's from the Hazara minority, and she currently resides in the U.S. Anna, Val, and Aziza, we're so thrilled to have you here with us today.
Thank you, guys.
Well, I'd love to start by asking Anna, since you were the first to get kind of started on this refugee assistance project, what drew you to this kind of work that is so labor intensive and can be so difficult?
Well, just in terms of the SIVs that I met, like one after another, who had worked for U.S. forces as combat interpreters and said, the U.S. made a promise to me and they broke their promise. And so I didn't want the United States to have a reputation as or Americans to have a reputation as people that don't honor their promises and their commitments. So I saw that most of them were basically like victims of bureaucracy. Like they had to get this paperwork and this format and this signature, and a lot of the guys didn't have computers or internet connections. And so I said, this is simple work that I can help them connect with to get their SIV applications submitted.
I'd like to tell a really important story to me at the beginning of this too, because I had written a story about an Afghan who is incredibly important to me. I always call him Fawad. That's the pseudonym that he and I agreed on when I started writing about him. But the first time that I wrote about his struggles as a Hazara SIV applicant, unable to find his employer, Anna reached out to me. And Anna was the one who, when I could not get the people who Fawad had worked for to respond to his requests for any kind of letter of recommendation, Anna was able to persuade them to give that letter of recommendation. And that has the possibility to change that man's life and his wife and his two children, who are young and beautiful and have so much hope and have been living in tents and living in farms and just kind of squatting in different places since August of 2021. And so, Anna, I'm glad that you do the work that you do. It's very unsung, but it makes all the difference for humans. So thanks for doing it. Val, what about you? What made you drawn to that line of work?
Like you said, I'm a U.S. Navy veteran. I enlisted right off of high school, and I did one enlistment. I was stationed in San Diego. I was in the Navy. I was a DC man. I worked on a ship. So my deployments never consisted of setting foot in Afghanistan or Iraq or anything like that. So I got out of the military, and with all the conflict going on in the Middle East, ongoing Afghan war, rise of ISIS, Syrian war, and you started seeing all these people desperately trying to flee. I mean, I empathize, as a veteran. You see how war really affects our veterans coming back home, and they get away from that. But now these people are actually living it through, years and years. And as a young mom, that really affected me, seeing mothers and families and children making the trek and drowning. And so I felt really hopeless and helpless at the time. And I went online, and the internet can be a wonderful place. And that's how I met Anna. We met online, and we actually helped start like these two small nonprofits, and it just went viral, and all these moms from all over the country, you know, came together, and then I started taking trips to Greece, and I don't know how many trips, I lost count of the trips that I took, but I met Anna in person on one of them, and that's actually where I met my first Afghan interpreters. And these were men that were homeless and stuck in refugee camps. And as a veteran and as an American, it was shameful and it was embarrassing. And I got to sit with them and share a meal and drinks and hear their stories. And this was back then, 2015. And so you really see how that whole system has been just completely a mess. And these people had been waiting for years for answers. And their lives, they were still being actively hunted by Taliban. Their families were put at risk for hiding them and helping them. And that was their last option, to get out of Afghanistan and try to get to a safe country while they waited out this whole process. And so I helped Anna out for a while. We did that work for a while. I took a step back. It was starting to really affect me. But I did that for several years, and then the withdrawal happened, and I had to call Anna right away and see how I could help her out, or if there's any way that I could help her family. She's been working for years, and then that's how it kind of I got thrown back into it.
And so how then, Anna, we talked about this a bit before we started recording, but Anna had Aziza as one of the people who she was supporting. And so how did that start, and when did you guys all start working together?
So one of the interpreters, the combat interpreters that I had met in Greece and I had tried to help him with his case, I reached out to him when the Taliban took over just to see how he was doing, how his family was doing. And he asked me, he said, "Hey, I know this, I have a friend, she's Hazara, she is educated, she used to run an NGO in Kabul, and she's really at risk. Is there anything you can do for her?" And I said, "Hey, we can try and apply for humanitarian parole for her." So I just got a list of asylum lawyers in Colorado, and I just went one by one and said, "Will you take on this case? Will you take on this case? Will you take on this case?" Till I found Anjali Nanda is the lawyer that agreed, and she met with Aziza online. Did you guys Zoom? So they interviewed, and then she said, "Yeah, you can definitely take this case." And she submitted the application in September of 2021. And then in July 2022, Aziza said, "Hey, I just got an email." Aziza had fled to, maybe Aziza can tell the story because she's right here, so she can speak about what happened.
Yeah. When Afghanistan was with Taliban, like Taliban came to Afghanistan and everybody was like just leaving Afghanistan in any way but wanted to leave Afghanistan. People like me, people who had like hope for a future in Afghanistan, they all became hopeless and just wanted to leave Afghanistan. Then one of them was me. I migrated from Afghanistan with my family to Pakistan illegally. We passed the border and we stayed 13 days at the border to enter to Pakistan. In normal days, we can pass this border in 3 hours, like there is 3 hours away, but we stayed there for 13 days because we were not allowed to enter Pakistan. It was Pakistani police who did not let Hazara girl or Hazara families to enter Pakistan. It was not for other nations. It was only for Hazaras. And because I was Hazara and my family Hazara, so we stayed there for 13 days. So finally we could enter Pakistan, and then I had connection with my international friends, and the interpreter who introduced me to Anna was an Afghan. He was my Afghan friend, and he had a connection with Anna, and he said that I have a program for you, that like in this program you can apply and there would be a sponsor for you and a lawyer for you. Then maybe you can get a visa to US to go there. Then I said, okay, let's try. Because before that I had tried many ways. I had tried filling application to UK, to Australia, to like I had no answer from them because it was normal. There was a lot of emails for those embassies and they could not answer all the emails by that short time. Then I filled this application and I met Anna. I met online, like I was talking via WhatsApp. Then I talked to Anjali, and I'm really grateful that I have Anna as a sponsor. Anna became my sponsor, and Anjali was my attorney. Then we filled this application. So um, Anjali called me in September 4th, or I don't exactly remember, September 4th or 5th, 2021. I talked with Anjali, my attorney, and she interviewed me, asked me some questions, filled the application. Then for 3 months, I was following, like I was following up with this application, texting Anna, texting Anjali, hey, what's going on? Any update? Because we were in a really bad situation in Afghanistan as a refugee. We did not have a shelter. We did not have, you know, how homeless people will be there. Then I was really following it up for 3 months. Then after 3 months, then I said, okay, nothing will happen for me. And I was not in this idea that it will take time. Then in July 2022, I got an email like, you have to do your medical screening in this hospital. Then I was, wow, yay. I sent this email to Anna and Anjali. Then I went for my medical screening to that hospital and I got my visa. And it happened only in 15 days. Like
Wow. And where was that medical screening at?
my medical screening, we were in Quetta, Pakistan, which is in the border with Afghanistan. And my medical screening was in Islamabad, in the capital city of Pakistan. And it was 18 hours drive because I could not fly there. It was 18 hours drive from Quetta to Islamabad to do my medical screening. Then I did this. I went there with my mom. You know, in Pakistan also, girls cannot travel alone. So I took my mom with me to go there to have an older person with me, mom, dad, or brother, anyone. I went with my mom there and I had my medical screening. Then I went to the embassy. They asked me to go to the embassy for my passport. I take my passport to the embassy. So just the tomorrow of that day, I got another email that come and collect your passport. Then when I went there, so I was surprised with a wonderful visa.
That's
And
incredible.
then we
And
only
so
had
that
like
was
3 weeks
only,
for her to get into the United States.
and it was just for you, correct, Aziza? Your
Yeah.
family didn't get to come?
Yeah,
Okay.
when Anjali called me and said that if you want to do this application only for you, because in these 13 days when I was at the border, so I don't exactly remember what day, I talked to my friend who introduced me to Anna. He said that there is like this program, parole, you can apply for that. And I said, okay. So I did not have connection with that of my friend, with Anna, with nobody. I did not have any signal. Then when I arrived in Pakistan, so my application was filled with by Anna and by Anjali. They already knew that this girl is going to Pakistan and from Pakistan she will be eligible. Then my application was filled alone there. Like they did not know about my family, if I'm with my family, if I'm alone. Anjali said, my attorney, she said that if you want, you can cancel this application and you can put another application for the whole your family. Then I said, I talked with my parents and they said, no, you're in danger, so we can adjust here. We can be here. So at least it's better for you if you can go sooner. Then I said, okay, I filled this application alone and I accept this application alone as a single girl. Then, yeah, I did this. And I said that how I got, like how I entered US. It's that time it was a hard story, but now this is like somehow some kind of funny, though this is not funny. This was really tough to enter UA. When I told that I got my visa in just 15 days. Like I did my medical screening, then I went to the embassy and I got my visa, and my visa only had 24 days to exit Pakistan and enter UAE. Then in these 24 hours, I went back from Islamabad, capital of Pakistan. I went back to visit my family, like say goodbye to my father, my siblings, my friends that I have there. And I stayed there for some days. Then Anna got my ticket on 28th of August, if I'm not wrong. And my visa was like the expiration of my visa was on 2nd of September, and my ticket was on 28th of August. Then I said, okay, I have 4 days. Then I can enter US in these 4 days. Where I was living in Quetta, Pakistan, there was a flood. There was a really bad flood, and everything was like destroyed there. There was no signal, no internet connection, nothing. I lost my connection. I could not connect to Anna, like so she can cancel my ticket. Like I did not know what to do. I have my flight on 28th of August, and now I don't have any signal, and there is no flight to Islamabad. There is no way to go to Islamabad. I took a car. I took a private rental car to go to Islamabad and do this 18 hours drive again. Then I went like at 4 o'clock. I left home to go to Islamabad. Then in the midnight at maybe 12 or maybe 1, like the way was stuck. The police said that you cannot cross this way because there is a flood and the way the street is all destroyed, you cannot. Then we stuck at that point without signal.
The road was washed out, so it's like a steep like mountain road, and it had washed out the road, so they're driving along the edge of the mountain, and then that had gotten washed out in front of them and behind them.
Yeah, I have sent many pictures and videos to Anna so that she can explain really good in English, because my English is not very good. Yeah. Then I stuck 2 days and 3 nights and 2 days, and at that point, with flood, with raining, like nothing, the only place I could stay and sleep was the small car. Like I was in the back seat and the driver was in the front seat. My parents did not know where Aziza is, and I did not know where Aziza is. Nobody knew. All my friends, like they got worried where Aziza is. Then in the other, after 2 days, I said the driver, let's go back. And he was not like, he did not want to take me back. He was like, I will take you to Islamabad. I will lose my flight. I have my ticket this day. I have to go back to Quetta if you cannot take me to Islamabad. So the police said that it will take long time, maybe 10 days, maybe 12 days. Nobody knows when the way will open and let you go to Islamabad. And the driver was not willing to take me back to Quetta. Then I said, please do this. How much, like, how many you want, I can give you. Just take me back to Quetta. Then he said, okay, I will take you back to Quetta. Then he take me back to Quetta, and then there I got signal. Like I did not have any WhatsApp or other internet connection. The only thing was working in Quetta, Pakistan was Messenger, Facebook Messenger. Then I messaged to another Facebook message, like to another friend from Facebook, that, hey, this is my sponsor's number. You can call or message her and tell that Aziza doesn't have any signal and has this problem. Then I was texting him, he was texting Anna, and he was texting me back, and like I was like, we were communicating like this. Then that time it was really hard for me because I was losing my flight and I was losing my visa. Then like how I should thank Anna. Then again, Anna did another ticket for me, which was really amazing, expensive, like 6,000 and a half. Took me an business class ticket at the last day, and tomorrow that day I had flight. So the last night, last moment, you cannot book a ticket, but Anna did this for me. And like that,
we actually got some volunteers from the Team America group pooled their miles and then donated them to Aziza to get the business.
Yeah.
It's like they're like, okay, yeah, this is the best use that I can think of for my business miles. And she also didn't have, to be able to exit the airport, you have to have an entry visa. And she didn't have that because she was illegally staying in Pakistan. So we had to go through a whole process. She can explain that.
Yeah, it was really tough that time. Like I had a lot of things to do in a really short time. I had to take a exit permit from the embassy of Pakistan, and because I was illegal there, they were like, it was not working for me. It was their law that they said you are illegal here, so you have no way to exit Pakistan from the airport. Then I did from some people who were working with the embassies, and like I paid like an amount of money to them and said that please do this for me because I have this problem. And they were kind, or how can I say, like they accepted and they said, yeah, we will do this because you have this problem. You wanna, and I know how you enter Pakistan, and you have the, like you want to go to US and you have the visa. So they helped me with an exit permit, and in the last moment I got an exit permit to exit from the airport of Pakistan. Then, so this problem finished here. I left Pakistan to Doha, then from Doha to Dallas, Austin, Dallas, yeah. Then there was a thunderstorm, and the plane I was in could not land in there in Austin. Then it took me back. It was in Dallas. Then they took me back to Austin. Then again bring me back to Dallas. Then it was 16 hours was from Pakistan to Dallas, then 6 hours like going and come to Austin and Dallas, Austin and Dallas. And then in the last, I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I was happy that I will go to visit Val there. She's waiting for me at the airport. And another guy said that, yeah. Then another guy, he noticed that I was asleep and he said, hey, where do you go? Do you know where you are? Then I said, yeah, I'm in Dallas and my friend Well is going to pick me. He said, no, you're back in Austin. Then, like, then I said, oh, what should I do now? Then I got a message from Anna that she said, we were tracking you. We know that you are in Austin. We already booked a hotel for you for this night. You can go there. Then tomorrow you have another ticket to Denver. Then it was really long, really tough, but finally I could do this. And I brought like that thunderstorm from Koita to Dallas, then from Dallas to Denver. When I arrived in Denver, there was also raining. Like it was not hard, but it was raining.
That sounds like quite the journey to get to where you were headed. What was it like when you got to Denver? Was it a relief to be safe?
Yeah, though I had passed many tough days, but when I arrived to Denver, I met Anna, I met Liz there who hosted me for the first week. Yeah, I had a really good breath and I was like, okay, now I'm safe and I'm in a really new world.
I understand from Anna and Val that you've also, Aziza, been helping other Afghans who've come here through the Brazil route. And so for our listeners who aren't aware of this, there's a humanitarian visa you can get to go to Brazil. And lots of Afghans are doing this because then they can go through the Darien Pass and pay people to help them navigate South America and get up to Mexico and then cross at the border and request asylum in the US. So what has that been like, Aziza? How many people have approached you looking for help?
When I was living in Colorado, because I did not have my documentation to work, then a lot of people knew that I know English. My English is good and I don't have a job, so I can help them with some English. Then I helped some people with interpreting, some families. Then like that, I got famous among my community that Aziza is helping with translation. She cannot help with a lot of things, but with translation. And through this, I got some calls that they had come from Brazil to Mexico. Then from Mexico, they entered US illegally, and they said, like, we don't have the language. We have really difficulty with the language, and we have difficulty with like we don't receive any help from nobody. Then I said, I have a group, a wonderful group who's helping with a lot of people. Then I was helping them with translation, with some documentation that they need to be filled. I was helping them, and I was introducing them to Anna, to Sharon, and to other people that I knew that they can help them. So I was helping with them. And I had, one day I received a call. He was a boy, said that I got your number from someone and he said that you can help me a lot. Then I said, what I can do for you? He said that I came through Mexico border and I'm here in Colorado, in Denver, but my younger brother is in California and he's stuck there. He's in the shelter house, and the people like the police or those people do not let my brother to be with me because we are illegal and he's underage, like 14 years old, and I cannot separate him, so they're not giving my brother to me. If you can help me with this. Then I said, no, I cannot help you with this, but I have some people to introduce to you. Then I introduced them to Anna, to Sharon, to whoever I knew, but Anna and Sharon helped him a lot, tried a lot, but it's still, we're trying to get the younger brother to be with the older brother. Still, we're doing this, but it did not work yet because this is a really tough process. This is the government, of course, I know, and I understand. And beside that, just to summarize everyone, like everything, I had some friend in Afghanistan who we were friends there. They were like, now they're three girls, three sisters, two sisters and a younger. One of the sister has a younger daughter, like 6 years old. I received a call from them that, hey, Aziza, we are in Brazil. We have a plan to come to US. Like, how can we do? Then I said the other people who came, I knew, like passed these countries and entered US. Then the only thing I can do for you is when you go to the police in the United States, you can say that I will go to visit this friend, Aziza. I will visit Aziza and I will stay with Aziza. Like, as a sponsor, not like I cannot do all the sponsorship. Like, you can come to me because I have a house, I have a place for you to stay. Maybe I can prepare food for you, so I can do this. Then when they entered US and they said that I received a call from the police that said that these girls are here. Are you the sponsor? You know, what are you doing? Then I said, yeah, the only thing I can do for them is I can give them a place. And then that was at the moment when I was moving to Michigan. Then I told my friends that I'm moving to Michigan. If you're going to follow me to Michigan, okay, you can be with me. If not, then I will introduce you to my other friends who are in Colorado. Then they said, no, we will go to Colorado because you will be new in Michigan, so you yourself will need help. Then I introduced them to some other groups in Colorado, and now they have a place to stay. They have a lot of helps there, and their documentations are also on process. So I hope the government will give them documentations.
That must be the really hard thing here. I mean, there's no prescribed path, and everything that has been tried. I mean, how many cases of humanitarian parole, Anna and Val, have you guys filed that you haven't heard back from? These are, there are what, more than 50,000 at $575 per application. The government has taken in more than $28 million in humanitarian parole fees. And so, Aziza, you were so lucky to get that pathway. But yeah, Anna and Val, how many haven't gotten that
Yeah.
you've worked with?
We have two other cases
Okay.
that we are, and they're SIV applicants.
And why do you think you were able to be successful with Aziza? Was there any difference in her case versus other ones you've worked on?
I think it was like some rogue consular person that was like, I'm going to approve this and just go against everything the U.S. government says. I have no idea how it worked out. But an additional factor we learned about Aziza after she arrived here, another risk factor, was that she had applied for and been accepted to work with the Afghan Special Forces right before the Taliban took over. So they were really hunting her down. They, I guess, raided the Special Forces office and found her phone number and were trying to contact her and convince her to come into the office, trying to claim that it was like legit, she could take the job, and she was really scared.
That is really scary. I've heard some other people be brought in that way, and sometimes it's just because they want to let you know that they know who you are.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah, they were tricking on people, like asking them to go for your job. We have nothing for you. Just go normally to your job. But when they go to their job, so after that, they disappear.
and that, I don't know if you guys have seen I think it was 8 a.m. media put out the investigative report about what's happened to Afghan women who've been detained in just 3 provinces. I think it was Faryab, Samangan, and maybe Saripul. And the women who have been detained there have been raped, have been impregnated, forced to have abortions, killed, tortured. So, I mean, it's a serious threat, and it makes me sick every day that, I mean, I'm so glad, Aziza, that you were successful, but how many women were not successful who are now living in this hellscape that the Taliban have created? It's a large number.
Yeah.
Well, what are you guys hoping for with the cases that you have underway, Val and Anna? Do you have hope that those are going to get moved through? Where are they in the process right now?
Well, one of the cases that Val submitted the humanitarian parole application for was at the same time I was working on his SIV application. So he had been approved for SIV back, I think, in 2014. He worked as a combat interpreter for 9 years, which is 4 times longer than the requirement for the SIV program. And he had letters that were, like, I've worked on hundreds of cases, and he had letters that were of recommendation from his U.S. military supervisors that were better than pretty much any other interpreter I'd ever seen before. They said, like, he was the best interpreter I ever worked with. He evacuated wounded soldiers under fire. Like, that is not the interpreter's job, but this guy just went continually above and beyond the call of duty. And then he had been assigned to work with this task force that, like, eventually got thrown out of Afghanistan for human rights violations. So he was observing those things, and he said, I'm not going to go on missions with you because you're abusing prisoners, you're killing civilians, and I don't want to be a part of it. So the guy said, well, if you reject our mission with us, like working with us, we're going to ruin you. And so they did. They filed a derogatory report on him, and they got his SIV revoked. So we filed his SIV, a new SIV application with new letters at the same time as Val filed for humanitarian parole for him. And just this week, we got an SIV approval for him. So it's been about 18 months.
And what's the communication been like? Have you been able to get updates on your cases, or does that seem to be a difficult task?
On our cases, and the case of Dave, the interpreter that Anna was just talking about, we have not gotten anything except the receipt of them getting the payment and the application. We got a receipt saying we got your payment, and that is it. We have not heard back. We have no idea where his case stands. We're just kind of waiting. But I was kind of losing hope, and then his SIV case got approved, which doesn't mean that he'll be able to get here anytime soon or anything. I think that's still taking a while because there are still like 80,000 SIV applicants that are being processed before him. So I don't know how long that's going to take. So he just received his COM approval, which is a big thing. And now we just have to wait again and hope that he stays safe.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the many issues that the Afghans are facing right now is they just have no idea where their packet is. They don't know if it's even been reviewed or what's happening with it. And so just not knowing where they are in the process, I'm sure, is extremely frustrating.
I actually had 4 people get 4 of my cases that had been either blacklisted or, like Dave, or had, like, just been rejected from the SIV program for not having the documents because they worked on a CIA base. So I helped them get the documents, and 4 of those cases got approvals this week. So it's kind of been like the most exciting week of my life in terms of SIV work, because it's mostly radio silence, like Val was saying.
That's really amazing.
Yeah, but that's just one, and then we have another humanitarian parole packet that we submitted for also an interpreter that worked with the intelligence community. Also, his SIV package had been denied for whatever reason. I mean, they denied them for ridiculous reasons. And we resubmitted that package as well. We haven't heard anything from that, and we haven't heard anything about his humanitarian parole package. And he's actually outside of Afghanistan. We were able to get his wife, 3 kids, and nephew into the airport during the withdrawal. He was already outside of Afghanistan. 2 weeks prior to complete takeover by the Taliban, they had shown up at his home. He was in Coast. He lived in Coast. And he was the only one in his family with a visa to get to UAE. And so he said, I'm going to get out of here. I'll work there. I'll get my family later. No one really thought that, in 2 weeks, everything was going to be taken over by the Taliban. And so we were able to get his family out. And now they're here in the U.S., but they haven't seen him. It's going to be 2 years. And he's trying to survive out there, trying to find jobs, and we still have not heard anything. So that's our other case that I'm sponsoring.
I wonder, so you two have, Anna and Val, you have this experience of knowing interpreters who've been going through the SIV process long before the withdrawal happened and the issues that were plentiful back then that we knew about. Is it more frustrating or less frustrating after the withdrawal? Because my whole experience has been post-withdrawal. I've written about the SIV program before then, but I didn't know anyone personally involved in it. As soon as the withdrawal happened, I started getting the packets and seeing, all of these things retrospectively, but you guys have been intimately involved in it. And so how does that compare, in your opinion, now versus before?
I'd say it's definitely worse because before, like, they could just go to the U.S. Embassy in Kabul and get their visa stamped and get on a plane and leave. And now it's limited because Qatar has a limited throughput of how many people they can accommodate. And I think they're at something like 250 people per week on flights to Qatar. On a good week, sometimes there's 0. And like Val said, there's 80,000 people waiting. So you get your approval and you just get in line. And the United States doesn't seem to be making any efforts to increase processing capacity, open up new facilities to process the SIV applicants like in Guam or in other U.S. military bases.
So that's the big problem. The several hundred per week is the Qatar. Okay, wow.
Definitely frustrating. A lot more frustrated than I felt back in the day. I feel like we know the extent of the problem, and there was a chance of making things right after the chaotic withdrawal, and we just still haven't really. We're still taking our time.
Yep. And so for people that are, thinking about using humanitarian parole to try to help someone still stuck in Afghanistan, where would you direct them to find good resources to learn how to do that process?
I wouldn't recommend doing it. I would say that's going to be a couple $1,000s down the drain that you're just going to throw into the wind.
Which is
because
also...
Beth read the statistics at the beginning of the call. There's been 50,000 applicants and less than 700 approved. So it's like you'd have a better luck to go buying lottery tickets or something.
Right.
Sure.
And things like the Afghan Adjustment Act that was introduced, that bill that was introduced right after the withdrawal. And one of the things that we were aiming for was waivers for humanitarian parole. And we've done it before. We've been able to waive these fees before. We did it for Ukrainians, and that never got passed. So it's kind of, where are these families? Where are our allies going to get that type of money? Because it's not just $575 per family, it's per person. And so we had to raise money. We had to put, come up with this money, and we were just racing against time after
And the other thing is a lot of these families are starving now. So you've like raised a couple $1,000s. You're going to pay it to the U.S. government to sit on it and do nothing with it. Whereas like the families are like, my kids don't have milk. They don't have food. They don't have bread. They haven't eaten today. And it's just like that money could have been, the $28 million could have gone a lot farther to help so many families in Afghanistan, like direct assistance, than to just go into the U.S. government coffers for them to deny the applications. And really, like the hypocrisy is just amazing because, as Val said, like with the Ukrainians, they brought in, I think the Ukrainians have over a 90% approval rate on their humanitarian parole applications, whereas the Afghans have less than 1% approval rate on their applications. So they're clearly using a different standard for evaluating the applications. They say that the Afghans only want to come here to stay. The Ukrainians are not going to be permanent, like immigrants to the United States. They're going to return to Ukraine as soon as the conflict is over. And I just think that, like, for our Afghan allies that kind of put their lives on the line for us for so many years to fight this war with us, that we need to do better.
And I think an important point here too, that $28 million, yeah, it could have, like you said, Anna, it could be better spent in direct humanitarian aid, but it would need to be direct because we've put Segur, the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, has put out that we put $2.1 billion into Afghanistan since the withdrawal. That money, if it's being funneled through the Taliban, if it's being funneled through WFP, it's not going to our allies. Many of them are not able to go get food distributions. They need a group that can give them food directly so that they don't put themselves at risk to go get it. Right. So these are people, that's why they're starving. I mean, there are food distributions you can go. The Taliban used to have a nice little Facebook page where they would show all the food distributions for WFP and I want to say USAID and different, international aid groups where they were present. Would you go if you were a U.S. ally? I would not go. And it's very scary and very sad. And all the aid groups that I used to help have left and aren't able to provide monthly food packages anymore. And I can't tell you how many people ask me for food every day in some social media capacity or another. So it's despicable to me. This is, it's a betrayal that you can't even, I can't wrap my head around how fully we've betrayed our allies. Aziza, what's the future look like for you? So you had, as a humanitarian parole applicant, you get 2 years from when you came in, and those 2 years are coming to an end. What happens next for you?
I have submitted an asylum, so I hope once my interview was saved, but it was canceled because of some reason that the police had to go to Mexican border. So that's why they canceled all the interviews, not only mine, but everybody's. So I hope my asylum approved and I can stay forever here.
It sounds like you've been doing really well since you came here. How does your family feel about you being here and them being back? Are they back in Afghanistan now, or are they still in Pakistan?
My family's in Pakistan, Israel. They are there. They're happy for me. They're happy. I have a new life here. I'm safe here, but they miss me, of course, and I miss them.
Aziza has gotten a fantastic job. Pfizer has an initiative to hire 500 refugees by 2025. So because of her background in chemical engineering and her business degree, she's been hired. Maybe you can tell them a little bit more about your job, Aziza.
Yeah, I'm hired as a chemical engineer in Pfizer. So here in this side, which I'm working, I'm the first specialist person from the refugees who's working as an engineer. So I got this fantastic job, and that's why I moved from Colorado to Michigan, and it worked.
That's incredible. I'm really glad. It's so nice to hear a good story and a positive ending, because there are so few that we've heard. Well, I want to thank all of you for being here. And before we close, we usually end with by reading a story from an Afghan. But Aziza, you got to tell your story tonight, and so we want to let all of our Afghan listeners know that, you know, we really want to include your voices in every single episode, because I think it's really important that the world hears what Afghans are experiencing. And so anyone, if you want to share the story of your life during the war years, or during the withdrawal period, or after the Taliban came to power, we want to hear anything you want to share in any form you want to share it. We've had beautiful poetry. And we've had very sad letters talking about the difficulties people have faced. So whatever you're comfortable sharing, we want to hear it. And you can send a detailed letter, poem, whatever about your situation to our show address, which is the Afghanistan Project Podcast at gmail.com. We can also let you remain fully anonymous if that is important to you. So please send us your stories. We would be thrilled to share them. Anna and Val, thanks so much for talking about all the work you've done to support Afghan refugees, Iraqi refugees, other refugees, and to fulfill those promises that our government made, because it's incredibly important. And then Aziza, thanks for sharing your story of hope. I hope that it brings some hope to others who are waiting right now.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your support, the refugees.
Thanks for sharing this.
Yes. Thanks for having us here, Beth.
Well, we were really lucky to have you guys tonight, and we want to thank all our listeners, as always, for sharing your time with us and supporting the people of Afghanistan. So Tasha Kaur, and we hope to see you again soon.
تشکر همچنان.